Cavolo here. We are doing live Sunday morning from Shenyang. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see all of you. So, we got to do live today. There's too many things to talk about. I'm going to make some minor little adjustments. I'm sitting here at my kitchen table. There we go. See my nice little plant in the background? Isn't that nice? That's all we want, folks. We all just want to have a good life. We all just want to have a decent, comfortable life. And in order for us to have a decent, comfortable life, what do we need? We need to be living in a stable society. We need a government that does its job. It's only to the degree that the government does its job that you live in a good society. Think about it. I mean, throughout history, if government is a bunch of tyrannical monsters, who suffers? The people. If the government does a good job, who suffers? Nobody. Nobody suffers. I'm live right now, and my wife is asking me for something, and now she knows I'm live on my live stream, so maybe she can pass me a note so I can find out what it is that she wants, right? You know, hey, it's Sunday morning. We're gonna head over to the Huin He Riverside. Beautiful green front along the water. There's even a public zoo, courtesy of the Chinese government. Beautiful. So we're having a lovely Sunday, and I hope you are too. Got a few things to talk to all of you about today. We got to update on. Very important stuff happening, and I don't want any of you to be confused. I know many of you are appreciating. Oh, Voltaire. Hello. How are you? I know that many of you are appreciating the new show that I'm doing with Fernando Munoz, the war on China. And I'll be touching on a couple of those points. It's been a great experience. We're going to keep. When I'm live streaming from here in China, occasionally the signal disconnects and reconnects. So I pause and then I start over. Be patient with that. Otherwise, it's a good live stream. I know many of you appreciate the new show, The War on China, that I'm doing with Fernando. Some of you don't understand it. That show is intentionally boisterous and passionate and argumentative. It's by design. That's how I've created the format. And when I first brought that idea, thank you, Voltaire. And when I first brought that idea, oh, and by the way, those of you who are looking at my live, I'm just doing this impromptu live stream Sunday morning. I didn't promote it. There's just a few people who will catch on and come on and join me, which is terrific. So the War on China show that I'm doing with Fernando is by design. I was inspired to create that show, that format, which I then took to Fernando, and he immediately agreed with me. And he and I have become soul brothers since we met in our endeavors in pursuit of the truth. And that's what we do. Like a lot of people out there, we don't even want to be political. We just are in pursuit of the truth. What's nice is that when you get a groove on understanding how it is that you can present truth to the world, and then it's really quite easy to do. My rule is, if I can't, Brooke, how are you? Hey there, great to see you. Impromptu live stream, as I like to do. Didn't promote it. Here I am Sunday morning, again up in Shenyang. Good morning. So it's really easy to share the truth with the world. Huh? Really? Yeah, it's really easy to share the truth with the world. All you have to do is make sure that whatever comes out of your mouth is based on demonstrable, observable information. Is that just so simple? I mean, I discovered the Greek word, as all of you know, apodictic. Some say apodictic. A-P-O-D-E-I-C-T-I-C. This is originally from the Greek. It means demonstrably certain. Apodictic. The other Greek word is, the other side, assertoric. assertive, right? Or rhetoric. Of course, rhetoric is the word that is most famous, comes from the Roman. Well, disconnect and reconnect, and we're back occasionally during the live stream. Uh, the art of rhetoric has been weaponized, right? I mean, it's a disaster now. Okay, you have mainstream media making up lies and then crediting uh, anonymous sources. And a new report by the intelligence agency, I mean, this is the level of credibility that they bring to demonstrable, observable evidence. You know, Mike Pompeo. We have piles of evidence that the virus started in Wuhan, which we know it didn't. We now know we have 3 layers of evidence that are publicly, demonstrably evident and true that it didn't start in Wuhan. We already know that, and that evidence is available and out, and I'll mention it again here. But then when Mike Pompeo says we have evidence that the virus started in China, it's a big pile of evidence, and then he never even shows it, of course, because he's full of crap. Okay, so the art of rhetoric is a disaster. Anyway, on the War on China show, we do everything we can to overcome that, and it's not complicated. Okay, we will never bullshit you on that show. Okay, period, straight up. Work in progress. How you doing, man? Good to see you. So I got my list here. I have to go back and address people who are genuinely concerned about the virus. Yeah, that he turned into a real disgrace of a president, didn't he, Brooke? What a clown that guy turned into. You know, I supported him early on, Trump. I supported. I'll speak a little louder. Thank you. I supported Trump early on because I'm a more conservative person and I agree with the policies, and I agree that he wanted to drain the swamp, right? So for those reasons, hey Mark, thank you, buddy. For those reasons, I supported Trump, even though I could see his character was a bit, edgy. And if the guy had not steadily deteriorated from the beginning, it's like along the way he just steadily deteriorated. He became the most disgraceful president ever. Unfortunately, I didn't want that to be the case. Disconnected and reconnected. I'm back. Now I realize that the whole thing is a mess. I mean, I don't identify with the Republican or Democrat, nor do I identify with socialist or communist. I'm just an observer of what's best for humanity and what's best for countries, and we need good governance, don't we? So that's the bottom line. We need good governance. And, hey, Timberly, thank you. Wow, South Africa. Wow, being online in today's world is amazing, isn't it? I mean, people from all over the world. China, South Africa, Canada, just incredible. So, anyway, yeah, I know. So, regarding, I want to get off of Trump. We understand that thing was a disaster, unfortunately. But it's all a disaster. Okay, politically, the United States situation is completely deteriorated. The system is corrupt, it's ineffective, it's a disaster. It began 20 years ago, we know that. I don't want to talk about that today. Specific points that were on my mind. 1, people are genuinely concerned about the virus, about the vaccine. 2, it just came up today how many cases worldwide and how many deaths of COVID. My original article, which, catapulted me into becoming a public figure. Something's not right here, folks, right? My new book. That's the title of the article. Go read it on LinkedIn, please. Something's not right here, folks, which compared the demonization of the coronavirus outbreak in Wuhan to the H1 outbreak in the United States. We have to go back and revisit those numbers so you understand how important it is to get vaccinated, even if you don't want to, even if you're a little bit concerned about it. We're going to talk about that. It's very important to talk about that. Number 3, the Meng Wanzhou case is coming up. There's some new information coming up. And number four, and the most important one, is this, and I'm going to say it like this: China, Delta, done. Delta in China is already toast. It's already done. Okay, Delta in China began less than a month ago, and the graph. Again, we reconnected and we're back. Delta in China, have fun. In Delta, Delta in China peaked in the last 3 weeks. Okay, the worst outbreak China's had in over a year. Okay, a nasty outbreak in China. Well, these numbers are relative because these numbers in China are tiny, tiny. Okay, number one. Number two, while the mainstream media is telling you those headlines, Delta in China is getting out of control, it's already 100% toast. Okay, China, Delta, done. Toast. 3 weeks later, it's already completely under control. Does that mean it's gone? No, I didn't say it's gone. I said it's completely under control. It's being beautifully managed. China offers the world the gold standard in epidemic management. They're trying to tell you, pandemic management, they're trying to say to you, China, Delta is challenging China. Yeah. So listen to the numbers, right? I mean, even Vietnam, which was the standard, they had no cases for over a year from the very beginning. And now Vietnam is doing 7,000 cases a day. Vietnam. Did you see that in CNN or Drudge Report? Where's the word Vietnam? You don't even see it. Okay, and how many new cases did China have yesterday? 54, of which 24 were local. 24. 30 were imported. They don't count. They're imported. They arrive at the airport and they immediately go into quarantine for 2 weeks and sitting in a hotel. Okay, and then they come out. So then they're cool when they come out, right? Yeah, I wish it too. I wish it too. I want to try to talk and also respond to your comments because I'm really glad that you're here. Oh yeah, right. I know. Down in Oz. I mean, again, Australia and New Zealand are the other countries which are following the quote the zero COVID policy, which is harder at first but better later. I mean, what's hard to understand, right? What's hard to understand? We're disconnected and we're back. Tighter and more cooperative as possible is definitely the best approach, but it has to happen early, it has to happen fast. And once it's all out of control, then that one sort of doesn't work at all anymore, does it? So it's a disaster, which leads only to vaccinations. Now hang on, I don't want to talk about that yet. So these are the 4 topics I want to cover. Now, let me go back. Let me do 5 minutes on each one. People who are genuinely concerned about getting vaccinated are a category of people that I want to apologize because we ignored you when I did a show with the last show I did with Fernando. I made a very, very passionate point, and the title of the show was Confused, Criminal, Vaccinated? Which are you? Are you confused? Or are you criminal? Meaning, are you an irresponsible idiot who's like an anti-vaxxer, anti-mask person? Because if you are, you're crazy. Okay, I can't even believe these people. They don't want their kids. They're out. They're protesting because they don't want their kids wearing masks in school while the pandemic is everywhere and 4 million people are dead. I mean, I can't even believe it. Okay, so I think these people are irresponsible to the point of criminal. So that was what that meant. And then the third category, or did you just go ahead and get vaccinated, which is what you need to do, and that's it. Now, in the comment section, a few people really well, sincerely and intelligently came back at me on that, and said, Mario, there's another category of people we're genuinely concerned. We're not crazy. We haven't gotten vaccinated yet, but we're genuinely concerned about the vaccines. because of side effects. And I thought, okay, wow, we neglected that fourth category. So I want to talk a little bit about that category right now. Thank you. People who are adult, genuinely concerned. You know, the old psychological and behavioral model, transactional analysis, is based on parent, adult, or child, right? We're either always in child mode where we just want what we want and we want to have fun, or we're in parent mode where we're always doing this and disconnected and we're back. Or the third category of transactional analysis is when we are just being a rational adult, which is what I'm doing right now. We sit, we have a good, serious conversation, crystal clear thinking, very, very aware what we're saying, we're thinking, we're doing our best to be rational adults, right? This is what we need. So that was the category we didn't talk about, Fernando and I, in our last episode 11 of the war on China. So talking about that category now, I'm with you 100%. I want you to know that I finally got my vaccine, first shot, 9 days ago here in China. And I didn't get it yet because, and this was the situation in China, well, there's been no virus here. Literally, there's no infection. So who the hell feels like they're urgently in a hurry to get vaccinated? It's like, yeah, I'll get it done. But right now I'm living in a city of 10 million people where there's no cases anywhere. The whole country, there was no cases. So you're not in a hurry, right? Oh, plus the border was closed and is still closed. So you're really safe. You're not in a hurry to get the vaccine. So then this very small number of Delta cases hit. We'll talk about that. And everyone got on alert. And even though now I think, what is it, about 70% of the Chinese population, somewhere around 1 billion people, have already gotten at least their first shot. And when Delta came, people started lining up to get their shot. And that was me too. I said to my wife, yeah, I got to go get my shot. I had gone to Beijing. Again, I was invited to speak at the Center for China and Globalization 7th Annual Globalization Forum. I was thrilled to death about that. Check out my video on that. It's in my Twitter feed. I'm going to post it here on YouTube as well. And I was a little nervous. And sure enough, there was a couple of cases in Beijing while I was there, and then I didn't want to get quarantined, and I came back to Shenyang, and then I got my first shot. But I said to my wife, and here's the point, I was concerned about which vaccine. I said to my wife, which vaccine? Oh, everyone's getting Sinovac. Now, it's up here in Liaoning province, northeast China. Again, we live in my wife's hometown, Shenyang. So I said, I only want Sinovac or Sinopharm. I only want one of the two traditional dead cell virus, reconnected, and we're back. And what was that about being oppressed? Yeah, right. Oppressing their people. There's no oppression going on here. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I said to my wife, I don't want anything other than Sinopharm or Sinovac. I want one of the traditional dead cell vaccines, which is the 2-shot vaccine. I said, I feel nervous. This newfangled Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, whatever they are, this mRNA spike protein, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, it's in the United States, everyone who gets the vaccine, will one of you please correct me if I'm wrong. In the United States, they give you a piece of paper saying, you're getting this vaccine under emergency use approval by the FDA. It has not been fully approved by the FDA yet. It's emergency use approval. Is that true? That's what I think is the case. Okay. So I'm like, okay. It seems there's a higher incidence of side effects and weird side effects from those newfangled vaccines. I know that here, it seems, now we'll discuss it. I know that with Sinovac and Sinopharm, the reactions are standard. They're pretty standard. 3 days ago, for 2 days, I developed a slight flu cough symptoms. 1 week after I got my Sinovac vaccine. I did. I felt a little irritated throat and chest, very clearly, obviously. And the nurse at the hospital said, "Oh yeah, yeah, plenty of people are about a week after getting the Sinovac vaccine. Your body's fighting your body's fighting that injected virus in. It's a natural reaction. No surprise." That, okay. And that's what I kind of was like, yeah, that's great, because I know that's that old traditional dead cell vaccine that doesn't make me worry. Okay. So I'm with those of you who are in the genuinely concerned category. Okay. Again, disconnected, and now we're back. It's obvious. Hey, BH, you're absolutely right about that. This anti-China stuff is terrible. China's a great country. They're doing a great job. The government's doing the best job in the world. Don't let me get off topic. I'm equally concerned about the vaccines, and it seems, compared to the traditional vaccine, the traditional dead cell Sinopharm and Sinovac, there's a higher incidence of weird side effects and longer lasting side effects and concerning side effects from these more modern new types of vaccines, which you guys are forced to get in the United States. You don't even have a choice. And I don't have a choice either. I couldn't get the other ones if I wanted to. You get what's available. It's too bad about the politics, of course. So I have good news and bad news. The good news is my mother, who's 83, her partner, who's in his 70s, my brother, who is a wonderful guy and big, big, nice guy, and I'm going to say not in perfect health, but big guy. Okay, him, several other people I know back in the United States, all said to me they got Pfizer vaccine and they had no side effects at all. Now, this is my 83-year-old mother and my older brother, my younger brother, a couple years younger than I. Great. So there's my small sample, right? People who got the Pfizer vaccine. But the point is, I want to tell you, is I was worried. I was like, damn, they're getting Pfizer. I wouldn't get it. I don't want it. I told my wife, I don't want it. I don't want one of those new damn vaccines. I'm a little worried. And everybody in my family got it, and nobody had any problem. No weird side effects at all. Now, that's a very small sample. So younger people are getting this heart inflammation, blood clots, higher incidence of side effects. I get it. So I understand your genuine concern. And my only answer is to move to the statistics that say, number one, don't listen to the politicians, and sure as shit, don't listen to any YouTuber that you're listening to, including me. Right? I'm not a disconnected and back. What you do is you don't listen to politicians, you don't read headlines, you go and have a discussion with your doctor. And I hope to God you have a competent doctor in the United States. Don't get me started on the United States healthcare system. That's a whole nother subject. It's a disaster. It's crazy expensive, and I'm very sorry you have to deal with that too. It's also part of the reason why the pandemic's out of control. Sorry about all that. Again, America's got so many problems. It's just so sad. And saying that does not make me anti-American at all. I'm wonderful, happy, pro-American. I wish it was a wonderful, beautiful country, and in many ways it still is, but it's a disaster in so many ways. You got to go talk to your doctor. If you have any pre-existing conditions or problems, you have to discuss those with your doctor, and your doctor will help you figure out which of the vaccines is the best one for you to take. I think you have 4 choices over there: Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna, and J&J, right? Johnson & Johnson. I think that's the 4. Fine. I agree with you 100%. You should be concerned about the side effects. And people with certain pre-existing conditions are in the category where your doctor might look at you and say, probably best if you don't get the vaccine. Frankly, that's not a lot of people. The whole country needs to get vaccinated. So I'm right back to where I started, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Okay? You got to understand why. It's a disaster. It's a freaking disaster. And this pandemic is a disaster. You need to know that. It's not a disaster. It is a disaster. I'm going to show, the numbers are very clear. And that's why you need to get vaccinated. So unless you have some very specific risk, I appreciate that you are genuinely concerned, and I appreciate that you are worried about side effects. I saw an interview with Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore is another one of those neutral guys on YouTube he's just against anything that's bad for humanity. He's not political. Um, if a politician is a jerk and hurting a country, Jimmy Dore's against it. From what I think, he's pretty neutral, and I like it. I like that. And he was interviewed by Joe Rogan, who's another terrific icon in America, but unfortunately, Rogan gets it wrong completely on China. Joe Rogan, you need to interview me. You get it completely wrong on Disconnected and Reconnected. Joe Rogan, you spew negative crap about China, like forced labor, Uyghurs, genocide, torture, blah, 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 none of which exists. You heard me. I just said none of which exists. You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. It's a shame. But on a lot of other stuff, these guys are fantastic. So Jimmy Dore was telling Rogan that he got the shot and got plenty of side effects. So it's a concern. It's a genuine concern. The good news is my 83-year-old mother, my older brother, my younger brother, and several other people that I know, every single one of them got the vaccine and nobody had got any side effects. So, yes, it's the same rules. The vast majority of people don't get any side effects. Small number of people should be concerned about side effects. Go see your doctor. Overall, my position hasn't changed at all. You have to get vaccinated, and now I'm going to tell you why. Again, unless you're an exception and really shouldn't get vaccinated, you got to get vaccinated. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. And it's not a persuasive argument. I'm not being rhetorical at all. It's not political. Just listen to the numbers. The average annual flu, according to the CDC, since 2010, normally kills 12 to 60,000 people per year. And most of them are old people. That's it. And that's in the United States. This one in the United States has already killed 600,000. Even if you discount and say, oh, some of those COVID people who were listed as COVID deaths really weren't COVID deaths, okay, fine. Maybe because the hospital wanted to get the money or something. Okay, fine, I hear you. Fine. So if that's 10 or 20%, which is the most it could possibly be, then if that's true, then it's still 500,000 deaths so far, and it ain't over, compared to 12 to 60,000 deaths. You see, so the difference is 5 to 10 times higher, 10 times higher. So there's number one, my point about, there's my point. Oh, great, thanks for MJ. No side effects from AstraZeneca, sore arm for a day. Yeah, that's what the vast majority of people are experiencing. But we don't want to disrespect people who are genuinely concerned. Yeah, I said I didn't want Pfizer. I agree with all of you. I didn't want Pfizer. I only want some. Disconnected, and we're back. But again, it's just a small percentage of people, very small percentage of people who are dealing with side effects issues. Talk to your doctor. You have to get vaccinated. And I'm in the middle of telling you why. I just finished telling you. 500,600,000 deaths compared to an average of 12 to 60,000 per year for the annual flu. Obviously, this is a nightmare. This is a pandemic, and it's not even close to being over. Now let's do a further calculation. It was just announced by whoever, I don't know who it was, not CDC or the World Health Organization or somebody. COVID infections, good. Your husband as well, no side effects from AstraZeneca. Yeah, again, the vast majority of people, no side effects or minor side effects, like I got, like the normal side effects. COVID infections have just passed 200 million. 200 million. Worldwide, with 4 million deaths worldwide. 600,000 deaths in the United States, 4 million deaths worldwide, 200 million cases worldwide. Now, listen to me very carefully, those two numbers. 200 million cases, 4 million deaths. Now let's go back to my article where I compared that to H1N1 in 2009 in the United States. Okay? The United States did the same thing with H1N1 that they've done now. They let the virus go. Okay, they identified an unknown nasty virus called H1N1 swine flu virus. They first identified it in California. There was also a couple of cases around the same time in Mexico. And it took the United States 6 months to declare an emergency on that one. It was very nasty. That particular virus, by the way, was unusually killing more killing more younger people than older people. Normally, these viruses kill older people first, who have coexisting preconditions, weaknesses, right? Because you're old. Spilled my coffee. I'm going to get up and go grab a towel. 1 minute. It was just and we're back. We got disconnected and we're back. So 200 million cases of COVID and 4 million deaths. And here's why you need to get vaccinated. Because that compares with H1N1. Worldwide, 1.4 billion cases. And between 200,000 and 500,000 deaths. That's where H1N1 ended up. You with me? That's how the final numbers ended up tallying on H1N1. 1.4 billion. H1N1 moved on from the United States, infected 1.4 billion people worldwide. The United States didn't even declare H1N1 an emergency for 6 months. They didn't try to stop it. They did very little to try to stop it, the CDC. They closed school for a couple of weeks. People went on the news and said, wash your hands frequently. And that's about all they did. They didn't do much. And H1N1 was more serious than the average annual flu. It infected 1.4 billion people worldwide, and it killed between 200 and 550,000 or something like that. By the way, I'm directly thinking of the link at the CDC website, so this is where the information came from. It's in my original article on LinkedIn. Something's not right here, folks. Go read it if you haven't yet. So you see the comparison? And that's why you need to get vaccinated. And I'm sorry. This virus has infected 200 million, and 4 million are already dead. That tells us that this virus, by the time it infects 1 billion, including any variants like the current Delta variant and the coming Lambda variant, you with me? Okay. So by the time this virus infects 1 billion, that's 5 times more. Are we going to have 5 times more deaths? Maybe. Maybe only 3 times more deaths. Maybe the death rate the death rate normally does decrease. Okay. So if that's true, then no matter what, okay, at 1 billion infections, we're going to have, and disconnected and we're back. So compared to H1N1, which was very nasty, 200,000 to 500,000 deaths worldwide, at the same number of infections, 1 billion or more infections of this, when this virus hits that many infections, the deaths are well above 12, going to be well above 12 million. Isn't that bad? It's horrible. I mean, so this virus is very, very, very nasty. End of discussion. By 10 times factor. Huge, right? That's the story. That's the reality. And that's why I'm saying to you, I'm sorry, the world has no choice but to get vaccinated. Now, I don't know what else to say about it. I think I'm just going to go on to the next subject. Let's argue about it more in the chat group. That's fine. What happened here? Hey, Tom. Yeah, majority of cases reporting are coming from unvaccinated people, and you're in the fourth wave. This is the other key point. You're being told, oh, people with the vaccine now are not 100% protected and they could still get it and spread it and da, 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 da. Yeah, it's all true. As a very small percentage of vaccinated. It's true. As a very small percentage of vaccinated. 95 plus percent of bad cases are unvaccinated. If you are vaccinated, it's the same story as the annual flu. Okay? If you are vaccinated, you are much less likely to get severe disease if you get severe symptoms if you get the virus. This is no different than what the doctor's been telling me every year for 35,000 years in my lifetime of the annual flu shot. Isn't this what they tell you? I've never gotten an annual flu shot. I admit it now. I've said this for the last couple of weeks. I've never gotten the annual flu shot. Okay? Fine. I just didn't get it. I just chose not to get it. That's like lots of people. Okay? The doctor would always say to me, no, you should get your flu shot. No, you should. Mario, get your flu shot. Sales job. $30, whatever, get your flu shot. I don't want to get it. Well, you should get it. Well, why should I get it? It'll help. It doesn't guarantee you're not going to get the flu because the flu shot is all the strains from last year, all the variants from last year's. And this could be a new one this year. And we don't know exactly. But it'll protect you some, definitely more than 50%, disconnected and reconnected. Doctors have always said this for the last 40 years. Get your flu shot, it'll help. If you do get the flu, you'll get less sick because it boosts your immune system. It doesn't guarantee you're not going to get the flu because there's new strains and there's new variants, right? And the flu shot could obviously only be from last year, okay? Simple. It's the same with this. It's the same with this. Do you understand me? Okay? With this, it's the same, all right? But this thing is killing so many more people and making so many more lives miserable. You got to get vaccinated. You got to be an adult. You got to get vaccinated. These people who are off on this tyranny, this politicization of this question. This is like what? 60,000 dead versus 600,000 dead. What is it now? 4 million dead. 500,000 dead versus now 4 million dead. And it's not even over yet. I mean, it's not even close to being over yet. I mean, there's huge numbers. So, like previous viruses where we get vaccinated, previous diseases where you can't go to school without your kid can't go to school without a little vaccine book, right? Right? You got a little vaccine book, measles, rubella, mumps, whatever they are, okay? I think it looks like this is just going to be, the annual flu pandemic is now the coronavirus variants. And every year you're going to have to get a booster, get a shot, get your annual flu shot. It's going to be this coronavirus flu shot. Call it the flu. Isn't it kind of the same thing, right? Expect to have to get the shot every year. They've already been telling you to get a flu shot every year. So now it's going to be like you have to. And I personally think at some point it's going to get mandated. It's going to get forced down your throats anyway. So you don't have a choice. So you may as well give in. And you're not, again, just be the rational adult, okay? It's not because anyone's trying to control you. It's because 4 million deaths is a lot more than 500,000 deaths, 600,000 deaths. It's going to be a lot higher than that. So this is a nasty, nasty virus. It's so simple. That's it. That's the story of this virus and why you have to get vaccinated. And you're probably going to get forced to. So grow up. Anyone try? And we're disconnected and we're back. Next subject. Anyone trying to tell you that China evil, China bad, China nefarious is completely full of shit. China is the largest safe, stable, successful, and capable country on the planet. And further proof once again, China gets hit with the worst outbreak of coronavirus since its earlier alleged success. Alleged success. There hasn't been any virus here in a year and a half. Okay, and now China gets hit with Delta, a total of like 1,500 cases, and in 3 weeks, China Delta went from 0 to peak up here, and then just went, and it's back down here. We're back down to 20, 30 cases a day. Can you believe it? This is Delta, completely under control. My city, Shenyang, here 3 weeks ago, right here, had two cases, which had come from the original 3 weeks ago, right here, had two cases, which had come from the original Nanjing outbreak. The Nanjing outbreak peaked in Jiangsu province at like 250 cases, and now there's just a few. But people traveled from the airport and spread it all over the country. So it got seeded, and 2 cases ended up here in Shenyang. You know how many more cases there are here in Shenyang? Zero, where I live. That's how they get it under control so well, so amazing, so fast. These are the realities, and this is what you need to know. So China, Delta, done, toast. Now I want to go back and for all you guys, go back and look at the chat group. Yeah, right. So no matter what, the U.S. government regime, Biden regime, will imposing tariffs on stuff that China does. Yeah, you know. It's really unfortunate that healthcare in the United States is profit driven, and not to mention completely egregiously out of control and corrupt. I mean, $10,000 for an MRI. An MRI here in China is $200. A CT scan is $50. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, in America, you have that problem. The underlying true problem is we're disconnected and we're back. In the United States, you have a government that's being run of and for and by the wealthy people, the wealthy class. This is beyond disputable. This is just obvious. And it's gotten worse and worse. The billionaires, the oligarchs tell the government what to do. In China, it's just the opposite. The government tells the billionaires what to do. And the Western capitalism has brought upon its own death. It's just a disaster. And the only way they're hanging on to it now is with their warships, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Yeah, I know. These guys, all these multi-billionaire guys. I mean, it's just so absurd. I'm going to take 2 minutes and talk about that for a second. Here's what I want you to do. Share this model with me, with everyone that you speak to. Okay? If you're a person with $100,000 or less in the bank, you might, and 60% of Americans barely have $10,000 in the bank. No, I'm sorry, 60% of Americans have 10,000 or less in the bank, like 3 months emergency fund. 50% of Americans have nothing in the bank. Okay? So share the following tight model to help people understand how out of control capitalism is and how those bastards are the ones who've ruined the world. They're causing all the problems. They're sucking up all the money. Here's the proof. They've intentionally created a cognitive dissonance about the value of money. If you have less than $10,000 in the bank, how much is $1 million? Just 1 million. 1 million to you. It's beyond a fortune. Actually, $500,000 is beyond a fortune. If you have $1 million and you're saying to yourself, okay, $1 million. Whoa. I could, without investing or doing anything, if I had $1 million, I could live on $3,500 a month net, which is comfortable. That's net, because you have to have a $5,000 a month disconnected and reconnected. If I had $1 million and I did nothing else than just spend that $1 million and earn zero interest on it, okay, I could live on $40,000 a year comfortably. If you want to call it $50,000 a year, which is like $4,200 a month. That's net cash. $4,200 a month net cash. Okay. At least I could live decent, and I could do that for 20 years. I mean, that's $1 million is a huge amount of money. But even if you just put your money somewhere at a safe 3%, your money would still double in like 15 years. So you'd still have more money just from the interest. Your interest alone, even at only 3% on $1 million, is $30,000 a year. So to you, you're going, $1 million is an insanely huge amount of money. It's just $1 million. Whoa. So how much is 10 million? How much is $100 million? Well, now you are ultra wealthy. You are ultra wealthy if you have $100 million. You can barely fathom, in fact, what it's like to have $100 million. Okay? That's it. Okay? At $100 million, you can barely fathom psychologically what it's like to have that amount of money. Okay? So then what happens when you finally make $1 billion? 1 billion. 1 billion is such an unfathomable amount of money that it is an unfathomable amount of money. That's what it is. So, but now that you're at the level of $1 billion, and when you add one more billion, that's another billion on top of $1 billion. The billion is already unfathomable. So 2 billion is like crazy unfathomable. 5 billion is nuts, beyond nuts. So what the hell is 20 billion? Right? So you see, we are in the stratosphere of insanity with allowing an individual person to be able to be worth that kind of money. And now, of course, that gives you an idea of how ridiculous it is that the Western capitalist laws, and it's the system, it's the laws, it's the system, the way it's designed, that allows a person to become worth 20 million, 20 billion, 50 billion, 100 billion, $200 billion without any obligation to the society that they live in. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay? So this is Bernie Sanders talking. Disconnected and reconnected. If you ever want to know like a combination of my ideals thinking, it's like I'm a combination of Bernie Sanders against the wealthy, Tulsi Gabbard, who is wonderful. I hope she matures as a woman and as an older woman, closer to over 40, 50, because she's pretty young now, becomes the first female president, and she's an anti-war. She's a proud American, proud military, but she's anti-war, like all of us are. I mean, you have to be crazy to support U.S. warmongering. That's killed millions of people across the world. And then Jeffrey Sachs, who's just an analyst, wonderful guy, who says this is crazy. The United States, these people are out of control by the numbers. They're causing war and they're causing economic devastation all over the world. That's what the U.S. government's doing. So I'm like those three people, and that's my views. So. You can't, and I'm popping on what Brooke said here, because it's the next subject. You can't neglect society and let a person become worth more than $1 billion. Okay, because $1 billion is already so much freaking crazy. It's 10 times 100 million. You can't do that, and that's only $1 billion. So 20 billion doesn't make any sense at all. Was it after the war they confiscated all the wealth of the wealthy? They confiscated, they made them pay the 90% tax on all their wealth. And the wealthy here to restart the world, restart the economy after the war. And that's what we need. Do you know that the wealthy during the pandemic became worth 2 trillion more? Now, I need you to listen to me very carefully. The wealthy during the pandemic became worth 2 trillion more. That's 2 trillion more. Not they became worth 2 trillion. They became worth 2 trillion more. They were already worth several trillion. So now it confiscate the 2 trillion more that they gained during the pandemic while everyone else is struggling. And 2 trillion is the money that's needed for the world's governments and other responsible organizations to deal with everything. I mean, this is perfectly fair and reasonable. You're still allowing the billionaires to be worth what they were originally worth in their billions before they became worth 2 trillion more. Do you see? And we connected and we're back. So you see how unreasonable and corrupt and it's ruined the world, how Western capitalism has become. And China's government is not socialist. China's government is not communist. China's government is not democratic. China's government is not, monarchy? China's government is all of those together. China's government is successful because China's government has done an amazing job of adjusting and flexing every year in their 5 year plans, actually. Every 5 years, we're now in the 14th 5 year plan. And the Chinese government is a hybrid government that has adjusted itself. It has socialist principles, as does the United States and Europe. I mean, there's plenty of socialism and socialist rules in the society for the betterment of society. That's what socialist is. Um, but not to the extreme where the government owns everything and then just like doles it out. That's extreme socialism. You could even say extreme communism where the government owns everything. Okay? It's not that way. Okay? You've got plenty of entrepreneurism and free market capitalism here in China. Everybody's free to pursue a career, pursue businesses. I think in the tech industry alone, something like 75,000 new tech companies were formed in the tech semiconductor and tech industry. I'm writing an article about that now for Huawei. 75,000 new companies registered. I can start a company, a Chinese person, and me with my Chinese wife can go tomorrow and register a new company. Do what you want. Do what you want. And get all kinds of tax incentives and support from the government. So it's a very entrepreneurial and capitalist society. But, as Brooke pointed out, the Xi Jinping government, they're making it crystal clear. They're not going to let this Western capitalism that has ruined society, ruined people's lives, and allowed billionaires to become worth hundreds of billions. This is tens of billions. This is absurd. And the Xi Jinping government has said, no, 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 no. You know, society is going to be very important in relation to shareholders. We're not going to let you get away with this. And, you know, you sorry-ass billionaires who want to do your IPO, we're disconnected and we're back. You want to control banking, you know, and financial, Jack Ma. You want to make yourselves billionaires, but you're not taking care of the people. Not going to happen. Okay? Not going to happen. We're not going to allow you people to go let your rampant Western capitalism run rampant and become Ayn Rand's mutant capitalism. We're just not going to let that happen, which is terrific. I'm going to finish this live stream on the last topic, which is Meng Wanzhou. Meng Wanzhou was innocent from the very beginning. The charges were illegal from the very beginning. The request for extradition by the United States to Canada was on a false basis, which has now been 100% proven. They said that Meng Wanzhou was hiding something from HSBC about her business in Iran. HSBC released the evidence showing that that's not true. HSBC is fully aware of Huawei's relationship with Skyworks, with the name of the company in Iran, the subsidiary. HSBC was fully aware of it. The original basis for China requesting Meng Wanzhou to be held in Canada is null and void. This is out in the open now. Congratulations to Meng Wanzhou. Now, we're all worried, of course, that even though what I just said is 100% true, what the hell? We don't know what the judicial system is going to do. But we do know the judge in a recent hearing a couple days ago, questioned the prosecution's arguments and said, your arguments don't sound very good. So that's really good news. And this is going to be discussed next week on The War on China with special guest Christopher Black, an amazing and impressive international attorney fighting for human rights, fighting against false genocide accusations against one of the Rwandan officials. An amazing guy. We met Christopher last week through Jonathan Dye, a super businessman, activist, journalism, founder of the Center for Canada and China Cooperation and Development from like a couple decades ago up in Canada. Those two were disconnected and we're back. Excited to be releasing that show. The next War on China episode's going to be that show. about the Mwanzhou case with special guest Christopher Black. Fantastic. He's going to be coming, joining us, me and Fernando, in the studio up in Canada. That's it. I'm done for today. Here we are live, 58 minutes, and we're done. It's Sunday in northeast China, Liaoning province, the capital city of Shenyang. Go have a wonderful day. Or if it's evening, because you're on the other side of the world, have sweet, wonderful dreams. Please share what I'm doing on my channel. Check out all my other videos. I've got the urge to make a couple more jazz and audiophile system videos soon. I'm going to do that. I've just been so busy. Things that I'm looking forward to doing and sharing with all of you. I appreciate all of you. Please do support my channel also by considering sending me a little gift via my PayPal, my little PayPal me link. Appreciate that too. I'm going to keep working really, really hard for all of you. Be safe, be wise, be healthy, be blessed, and we'll catch you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.